In the gripping climax of the latest episode, we witnessed a dramatic turn of events as Ihan's mother stealthily trailed behind Haejun, only for Haejun to sharply pivot and confront her. Expressing gratitude for the invitation, Haejun extended heartfelt birthday wishes. However, the atmosphere took an unexpected twist when Haejun found herself grappling with unsettling online rumors. Ihan's mother, in a candid moment, admitted that she initially doubted the veracity of Ihan bringing his girlfriend to the event. Profusely apologizing for not having a gift, she was taken aback when Haejun interjected, insisting that she should have brought a present for Ihan instead. This revelation caught the mother off guard, as Haejun referred to Ihan by his name rather than the expected, Mr. Seo. Haejun, sensing tension, offered the suggestion that the mother could call Ihan by a different name if she preferred. Apologizing, the mother confessed to feeling bewildered, acknowledging that she never anticipated this day when Ihan's girlfriend would be standing before her. Shockingly, Haejun discovered that the rumors circulating on the internet were baseless fabrications. Expressing gratitude for Haejun's presence on her birthday, Ihan's mother delved into her uncertainty, confessing she never foresaw such a scenario after giving birth to Ihan. As the realization set in, Haejun was visibly stunned to learn that the woman before her was, in fact, her biological mother. In an attempt to salvage the awkward situation, the mother suggested moving to a quieter place to continue their conversation, regretting the lack of a proper greeting earlier due to the crowded surroundings. Yet, the tension escalated when Ihan abruptly intervened, asserting that he doubted Haejun's ability to proceed. Ihan justified his interruption, explaining that Haejun needed to eat first, having been occupied with work throughout the day without a proper meal. As Haejun delves into her meal, Ihan raises a valid concern about her decision to start drinking without having eaten all day. Uttering, Mr. Seo, Haejun inadvertently draws attention, prompting Ihan to interrupt and suggest she address him by his name to maintain a natural atmosphere in their surroundings. Initially responding with a dismissive, whatever, Haejun swiftly corrects herself, opting for an agreeable, okay, realizing the importance of not upsetting the delicate balance. Ihan, ever mindful of the situation, advises Haejun to take a seat and enjoy her meal. However, she resolutely declines, explaining her preference for standing during meals due to the extended periods she spends in the operating room. Her rationale revolves around avoiding restlessness in her legs that often accompanies prolonged sitting. Emphasizing her need to eat quickly to prepare for the next surgery, Haejun firmly rejects the offer to sit. Curious, Ihan questions whether this means Haejun merely takes quick bites of food in the operating room. With a touch of amusement, Haejun playfully reveals that she makes sure to take breaks and head to the cafeteria, particularly when they serve pork cutlets, as she loves them too much to settle for anything else. As Ihan encourages Haejun to savor her meal without the rush typically seen in the operating room, she places her finished plate on the table, having enjoyed her dinner while engaged in conversation. The atmosphere shifts, and after the meal, Haejun finds herself reminiscing about a recent dinner conversation with Oreo and Juno. Recalling the previous night's discussion, Haejun shares her contemplation about entering the dating scene with Oreo and Juno. Oreo raises a concern about Chonsung from the OS department, expressing his intention to become a fellow at Jaeil Hospital. Surprised, Oreo speculates that Chonsung might be doing so to remain close to Haejun after being rejected by her. Haejun playfully teases Oreo, questioning why he's behaving as if he's one of her rejects. In a surprising twist, Haejun reveals that both Juno and Oreo had asked her out in the past, only to face rejection. Oreo, amused, reciprocates the teasing, suggesting that Haejun has a pattern of inviting people to the CS department from other departments and then rejecting them. He warns her to be cautious, emphasizing the karmic principle of what goes around comes around. Concerned, Haejun had hoped to start dating one of these guys once things settled down. Unbeknownst to her, a wolf had already set its sights on her, adding an unforeseen layer of complexity to her romantic prospects. As Haejun reflects on her complicated romantic entanglements, she exclaims, "I am so utterly screwed." Oreo, ever the playful tease, remarks that he uttered the exact sentiment 4 years ago when he was under her spell. Haejun swiftly counters, reminding him of the time he held onto a rose he intended to give her and cried behind a curtain. Oreo dismisses her claim, insisting he was crying because she had locked the door, trapping him in the room. In the midst of their banter, Juno extends an invitation for a weekend trip, which Haejun promptly declines. An irritated Oreo points out the need for more doctors in their circle, highlighting the perks of the new addition. According to Oreo, the new doctor, associated with a district chaebol, is the perfect fit for their group, especially since Snow's dad is footing the bill for all the food, and Dr. Kong is arranging transportation, a collaboration of a district and national chaebol. Haejun, uninterested in their chaebol discussions, advises them to cease their corporate talks. Oreo, persistent, asks Haejun again if she's really not going to join the trip. With a mischievous grin, Haejun responds that she has other plans in mind. At the party, Haejun reveals to Yihan that she has meticulously planned a schedule for them. Puzzled, Yihan asks about what schedule she is referring to. Haejun explains that she received 10 million won for today's meeting, but there's still 66 million won left, implying that they will have to meet at least 6 more times to fulfill their financial arrangement. The revelation leaves Yihan dumbfounded as Haejun cheekily outlines the calculated roadmap for their future encounters. Haejun unfolds her plan, proposing that for the first 3 meetings, they pretend to be genuinely interested in each other. However, from the 4th encounter onward, they should showcase strains in their relationship, attributing the tension to their clashing personalities. Yihan, taken aback, twitches at the level of detail in Haejun's proposal, commenting that she seems to be a lot more thorough than he initially thought. Haejun, with a playful smile, affirms that he can indeed say that. Yihan, curious about the earlier interaction with his mother, shifts the conversation. He acknowledges that his mother always has a motive behind her actions and advises Haejun not to hold back when dealing with her. Yihan emphasizes that his mother hasn't held back since giving birth to him. However, Haejun abruptly interrupts, expressing disbelief, asking, "She gave birth to you?" Realizing her sudden rudeness, she swiftly apologizes, explaining that she was attempting to dispel some rumors. Yihan reassures her, stating that she doesn't need to worry, even confessing that sometimes he finds it hard to believe that she gave birth to him. Haejun, quick to recover, asserts that she can believe it because she has to, after all. The exchange highlights the complexity of their developing arrangement and the unexpected twists that come with it. The conversation takes an unexpected turn as Secretary Kang abruptly joins Yihan and Haejun. Yihan quickly grasps the reason for Kang's presence and questions if Yihan's mother wants more information about Haejun or if she's looking to make plans to see her again. Kang discloses that Yihan's mother is interested in inviting both of them to the opening of Seomoon Gallery's new annex. Yihan promptly assures Kang that they will attend. However, Kang expresses concern, asking Yihan if he's certain about attending, considering the potential difficulty of facing questions. Haejun, observing Kang's dedication to his work, empathizes with the challenges of being a secretary. To lighten the atmosphere, Haejun extends an offer of a drink to Kang, who graciously accepts. Yihan, witnessing Haejun's friendly interaction with Kang, is taken aback, as he had never seen her smile in such a way before. Though Yihan attempts to ignore their conversation, he finds himself unable to do so. As Kang is about to share his phone number with Haejun, Yihan interrupts, instructing Kang to fetch a wine bottle as he finds wine bitter. Haejun, observing the situation, comments that champagne still tastes plenty sweet to her. Yihan dismisses her perception, suggesting she may not know much about champagne. Taking advantage of the moment, Yihan snatches Haejun's phone, adds his own number, and hands it back, urging her to call him for any information she may need. Surprised, Haejun questions Yihan, asking if he genuinely wants her to call him. Yihan responds with a retort, asking if there's any reason she shouldn't call him. Haejun, still uncertain, comments that she's not sure if there will be any reason to call him. Calmly, Yihan asserts that something will likely come up, emphasizing the need for thoroughness in their fake relationship. He points out that it would be odd for two people in a relationship not to call each other. Haejun acknowledges the logic but reflects that knowing everything about each other after just one day is unrealistic. Later, while contemplating the party, Haejun reaches for a diary and discovers a card slipping from between the pages. Reading it aloud, she finds a message that says, "Yes, please do that, I'll wait for you." A pleasant smile graces Haejun's face as she reads the words. Meanwhile, at Yihan's place, he takes notice of Haejun's resume on the table. Discovering that she graduated from Hankook University, Han, despite her impressive credentials, perceives her as falling slightly below his expectations. Several days later, Haejun confidently enters Jaeil Hospital, encountering a colleague in the lobby. Haejun's colleague questions if something good happened to her, and Haejun playfully inquires what the good news might be. She guesses if they found the missing patient or if Dr. Choi decided to discuss the heart transplant center with the new chairman. The colleague nods in disappointment, and Haejun, sensing the colleague's mood, comments that she was just joking. She notices that he seems to be in a really good mood and is invited for breakfast in the cafeteria. Haejun, still curious about the good news, asks if it's better than the news of a successful surgery. The colleague cheerfully claims that it's almost as good, leaving Haejun intrigued about the reason for his happiness. Meanwhile, Yihan's new secretary receives a call from Mr. Choi of General Affairs. Upon answering the call, Mr. Choi informs her about the serving of pork cutlets in the cafeteria that day. Delighted, the secretary accepts the invitation just as Yihan is about to leave for somewhere. Stepping out of his office, Yihan's secretary offers to call a car if he plans on returning right after lunch. However, Yihan addresses her as Ms. Yang and reveals that there's a place he hasn't visited yet, implying that, as part of his work at the hospital, he needs to explore every corner. The cafeteria buzzed with chitter-chatter, and amid the lively discussions, Haejun found herself surrounded by colleagues arguing about being too loud and eagerly anticipating the pork cutlets. Although she outwardly displayed a calm demeanor, internally, Haejun was just as excited as her colleagues. While getting her food, Haejun inquired about a patient with a heart problem from Mingguk, one of her colleagues. Mingguk shared that the patient's condition had improved, as they performed the surgery early, and he personally handled the second half of the procedure. Proud of her disciple's progress, Haejun felt a sense of accomplishment for his achievements. As they searched for seats, their gaze fell upon Dr. Choi, and there were empty seats around him. Haejun's colleagues asked her what they should do, to which she confidently replied, questioning if they had done anything wrong. Undeterred, she walked towards Dr. Choi, bowing in respect, but he ignored her. Nevertheless, Haejun took a seat at the table beside him, preparing to cut her pork cutlet slowly and meticulously, as was her usual practice. In the midst of her careful dining, Juno walked by, teasingly commenting on her surgical precision with the pork cutlet. He remarked that she was going at it like she was performing surgery, an old pro at the task. Mingguk, attempting to diffuse any tension, highlighted that the hospital's pork cutlets were renowned. Irritated, Haejun told Juno to stop trying to provoke her and suggested he sit down. Juno declined, stating that others in his department were waiting for him. The cafeteria scene painted a lively picture of hospital dynamics, with Haejun navigating both professional and personal interactions. Juno's attention shifts to Mingguk as he devours the cutlet voraciously, and Juno playfully comments on how everyone in the CS department eats as if they've been starving for a week, finding it a bit intimidating. Another colleague chimes in, praising the exceptional pork cutlets, mentioning that there was even an offer to open a restaurant franchise. Mingguk interjects, correcting the information, stating that they were scouted by a hotel that brought sacks of money to poach the cooks. Juno, teasing Haejun, asks if she has anything to add to the story about people being offered bags of money from a hotel. Haejun, enjoying her pork cutlet, pleasantly asks if the offer was more than 78 million won, commenting on how nice that must be. Juno grins, realizing he shouldn't have brought it up, and questions what kind of hotel serves pork cutlet. Haejun, with conviction, believes that something as delicious as this cutlet deserves to be served not just in a hospital cafeteria but even at the presidential level. She continues to savor the meal, feeling like she's in heaven. Despite life's unfairness, Haejun takes joy in indulging in good food and suggests that it's so good it should be served everywhere. Juno counters that he would prefer the cafeteria to serve steak, but Haejun explains that the joy comes from eating something unexpectedly delightful in an unexpected place, like a buffet at an internet cafe or a 5-course meal in a diner. Suddenly, the cafeteria falls silent, and Haejun notices everyone's attention shift. Yihan enters the cafeteria, holding his food, and Haejun, unknowingly continuing her commentary, remarks that it's like seeing a chairman in an employee cafeteria. Yihan was diligently working in his office when, abruptly, his gaze fixated on his phone, and a memory of Haejun flooded his thoughts. A wave of annoyance swept over him as he contemplated the possibility of her not calling despite his explicit request. With a determined resolve, he swiftly rose from his chair and decisively strode out of the office. In the midst of his departure, the resonant voice of Yang discussing the cafeteria's cutlet service abruptly caught his attention, triggering an instantaneous recollection of Haejun emphasizing her habit of visiting the cafeteria during cutlet days. Fueled by this memory, Yihan briskly headed towards the cafeteria where Haejun and others were situated. Upon arriving, Haejun gestured for Juno to take the empty seat beside her, yet Juno persistently declined, citing the presence of others waiting for him. Intriguingly, Yihan inquired about the availability of the seat, but rather unexpectedly, he directed this question not to Haejun or Juno, but to Dr. Choi. Dr. Choi, exuberantly cheerful, promptly urged Yihan to take the seat, welcoming him warmly. Demonstrating his authority, Yihan then directed Yang to leave, asserting confidently that he could manage his afternoon schedule independently. Yang, filled with joy, promptly seized the opportunity to take her leave. Dr. Choi, overwhelmed with excitement, considered the prospect of having lunch with Yihan an unprecedented honor, recognizing it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Dr. Choi harbored hopes that Haejun would refrain from interfering with her heart transplant center discussions this time. Observing the unfolding dynamics, Dr. Choi noted Haejun's uncharacteristic silence. Despite her penchant for causing trouble, she carried herself with unwavering confidence, a fact that irked him considerably. Yihan, fixing a penetrating gaze on Haejun, prompted Dr. Choi to speculate that Yihan might not hold much fondness for her either. Inquiring about Ihan's satisfaction with the food, Dr. Choi received a seemingly positive response laden with sarcasm, a subtle tone that only Haejun could decipher amid the intricate web of interactions. Dr. Choi persists in his efforts to persuade Ihan, expressing his intention to visit Ihan's office and address their first meeting, which didn't conclude on the best terms. He conveys a desire to present a more accurate picture of their department, insisting that it's not usually as chaotic as their initial encounter may have suggested. According to Dr. Choi, the atmosphere is generally calm and quiet, with the exception of occasional outbursts from a particular individual. Ihan, comprehending Dr. Choi's reference, remarks that he was concerned about being unaware of the situation. Dr. Choi seizes the opportunity to provide insight into the department's statistics, citing an average of 10 surgeries per month and 9 outpatients every day. He acknowledges that, based on these numbers, Ihan may perceive him as lagging behind his peers. Ihan expresses concern that this might be due to an ailment, but he is relieved to find Dr. Choi both understanding and in good health. As Dr. Choi attempts to elaborate, Ihan interrupts, suggesting that it's a relief that Dr. Choi is not the very special person he initially alluded to. Ihan, now shifting the focus, comments positively on the cutlet, expressing that it surpasses his expectations. Dr. Choi concurs, agreeing with Ihan's assessment of the cutlet's quality. Ihan discreetly steals a glance at Haejun, then continues, asserting that many employees choose to dine in the cafeteria for the very reason they are experiencing, the exceptional quality of the food. Dr. Choi, attempting to ingratiate himself with Ihan, emphasizes that he comprehends Ihan's concerns and believes they have grown closer. He attempts to dispel any misconceptions, emphasizing his tireless efforts for the department's improvement. Dr. Choi mentions his intention to schedule a meeting to discuss ideas with Ihan. Ihan, without hesitation, encourages Dr. Choi to call him. Rising from his seat, he emphasizes that if there's anything Dr. Choi needs to convey, discuss future plans, or inquire about anything, regardless of its significance, he should feel free to contact him. Dr. Choi, a bit nervously, admits he doesn't have Ihan's number yet. Ihan, nonchalantly walking by, comments that only those who possess his number should make the call. After some time, Ihan strolls through the hospital garden and spots Haejun seated behind the bushes. Ihan comments on her apparent fondness for such secluded places. Haejun swiftly grabs Ihan, pulling him close to avoid being seen. She urgently reminds him of his commitment to keeping their relationship confidential, from start to finish. Ihan, pulling back his hand, inquires if he genuinely made such a promise. Annoyed, Haejun affirms that he did indeed make that promise, questioning why he would come to the cafeteria like that. Ihan defends his actions, wondering what's wrong with checking on someone indebted to him. She didn't have time to call him but enough time to eat and interact with others, surrounded by men. The situation feels akin to meeting an actual creditor, making her heart race. Ihan, catching on, asks if that's why she called him out there. Haejun denies it, clarifying that she just wanted to convey that she is not running away and intends to repay her debt. She requests Ihan not to make surprise visits like that again, emphasizing her consistent hard work, as evident from the night he observed. Ihan questions why she didn't mention earlier what issue Dr. Choi has against her. At the mention of Dr. Choi's name, Haejun casually remarks that Dr. Choi has always been that way. She believes his behavior stems from the assumption that Ihan dislikes their department because of her. Consequently, there's not much Ihan can do about it. Ihan acknowledges this fact, stating that indeed, he can't change everything. Haejun asserts that while she didn't anticipate Ihan taking action, a part of her secretly hoped he would. Dismissing that topic, she confronts him about his apparent bad mood, questioning why he's in such a state. Ihan, looking dumbfounded, queries why he would be moody. Haejun clarifies that she was on the verge of calling him, assuring him she's not avoiding their plans and actively preparing for them. So, she directly asks why he's angry. In Ihan's contemplative mind, he ponders whether his recent edginess is due to her failure to call or her silence in front of that man. Despite the uncertainty, he acknowledges that whatever it is, it's undoubtedly because of her. Nevertheless, he dismisses her assumption, asserting that he was never angry. Confused, he questions why she was planning to call him. Haejun explains that it's about their upcoming plan at a gallery managed by his mother. Mr. Kang mentioned fewer guests, suggesting that Ihan's mother might pose more questions. If people inquire about how they met, what should she say? Ihan furrows his eyebrows at the question. Anticipating his reaction, Haejun presents two versions, a simple one and a more clandestine one. She prompts Ihan to choose. Uncertain, Ihan leans towards the simple version. Haejun starts jotting something down in her diary. After a while, Ihan, driven by curiosity, asks about the clandestine version. She begins elaborating on the first day he couldn't tear his eyes away from her and was willing to do anything to win her over. Yihan abruptly interrupts, questioning if she genuinely believes he would act in such a way because of her.